At 2:13 a.m., the motion alert lit my phone, and I walked into my daughter's room to see our HOA president standing over her, scissors in hand, blue hair on the pillow, like someone had cut a piece of sky and dropped it right there. And I didn't shout or grab. I just watched that woman slip out the window into the rain like a raccoon in pearls, and realized the quiet life I'd tried to build had just ended. By sundown, I wasn't the easygoing dad on Cedar Grove Landing anymore. I was the guy walking evidence into a county hearing while a judge asked me to spell her name for the seizure order. And yeah, that happened. My name is Caleb Brooks. I'm a forensic architect, not the cool kind who makes magazine houses, the kind who figures out why a structure failed and who ignored the cracks. And after my wife Hannah passed, I moved our 10-year-old Ellie to Pine Haven, Texas, because the Cedar Grove brochure promised safety through standards matching shutters, trimmed hedges, a gate with a cheerful beep that was supposed to mean nothing. Bad gets in, you know what I mean. We gave Ellie a thin sky blue streak in her hair, the exact color of Hannah's studio wall, because grief needs a place to breathe. And 3 days later, at 6:04 a.m., the doorbell hit like a fire alarm. And there she was, pastel blazer clipboard, like a badge perfume. So sweet it felt like a dare. "Good morning," she said. Smile, tight as a tourniquet. "Marla Sutter, HOA president. Children must maintain natural appearance. Section 9, Clause B. Consider this your first and final warning." And she pressed a $500 citation against my chest with a line I had never seen. Non-conforming child presentation. I kept my voice level because my kid was eating cereal 10 feet away, and I wasn't about to let fear set up shop at our table. I said it, she's 10. It's a memorial streak, and Marla hit me with the line that tells you exactly what kind of person you're dealing with. Compliance isn't personal. Mr. Brooks, it's policy. The neighbors pretended not to watch the sprinklers, hissed like gossip. My face got hot, and some part of me that still believes if you explain yourself clearly, people will be decent wanted to argue. But instead, I nodded, took the paper, shut the door, and told Ellie we'd be fine, even though the lie tasted like spare change. The fine sprouted like weeds after rain. $200 because Ellie laughed on her scooter at 7:32 p.m. $100 because I rolled our trash to the curb at 8:05 instead of 8:40. Our photo citations, with red arrows pointing at a 10-year-old riding a bike, a police cruiser idling across the street for a wellness check. Someone from the HOA requested, and if you've ever stood in your own kitchen and felt the house tilt just enough to make you grab the counter that was weak too. I went to the HOA meeting with printouts and the kind of small, stubborn hope that grows back after a funeral. The clubhouse smelled like lemon cleaner and cold air. Marla sat at the head of the table, tapping her pen like a metronome for control. 2 board members flanked her, and the secretary, Donna Valdez, kept her head down like she was trying to be smaller than her chair. "Brooks," Marla said, with a voice that could cut ribbon, "your pattern of defiance undermines neighborhood standards. Would you like to address your non-compliance?" And I kept my tone friendly, because truth doesn't need to shout. I said, "Your own bylaws say inspection correspondence occurs between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. 11 of your notices are time-stamped after 6. 4 after 11. If standards matter, then your standards should matter first," and Dana's pen froze mid-scribble. One board member coughed and swallowed his words, and Marla smiled like she was forgiving me for being difficult. "Duly noted." Bang went the gavel, and when I got to my car, there was a fresh paper under the wiper. "Unauthorized presence at HOA meeting." And I laughed the kind of laugh that sounds like a bark, because sometimes the absurd is so pure, it circles back to funny. The next morning, 2 maintenance guys were in my yard, with a laser level measuring my fence. Without notice, I stepped onto the porch with my phone camera rolling. "You're trespassing," I said. And Marla in her sunglasses didn't even turn routine inspection. "We received complaints. Your fence exceeds height standards." And I said, "It's the same height as every fence on the block." And she said, "Then you have nothing to worry about." And she wrote something down and glanced at my keypad. For half a second, and my stomach dropped through the porch. That afternoon, I stopped being the dad who hoped this would blow over and became the professional. My resume promised. I cleared the dining table, made 3 stacks, paper notices, timestamp photos, digital logs, mirrored home footage to a private cloud, pulled router system. Times grabbed screenshots of the HOA portal showing who logged in when, and I labeled a folder with a boring name because boring names win in court. 2 nights later, the storm came. Gutters singing neighborhood quiet in that way where weather is louder than your thoughts. And I had placed a small interior camera behind Ellie's bookshelf. Motion-triggered feed to a private server. Not because I wanted to live like that, but because paranoia is just good instincts, waiting for proof, and at 2. My phone buzzed motion in Ellie's room, a less than 1 second flash of metal, a shoulder in the corner of the frame, the curtain breathing, and I was already moving. Ellie woke, sobbing hair, uneven blue strands on her quilt, like someone had emptied a pocket of sky. The window open, the perfume hanging in the air, that same cheap floral sweetness from my porch, and her voice was small and wrecked. "Am I in trouble for the blue?" And I said no. We are done being quiet. And by dawn, I had Still's router logs and the 2 screenshots that change a story from miserable to criminal. The 2:07 a.m. Admin override at this gate with Sutter M, and the HOA portal's 3:02 a.m. edit on an access entry. The local detective looked at my USB like it might bite, and did the thing they do when systems want you tired. These things get messy. Civil neighbor disputes consult an attorney, and I said, "You're going to subpoena the gate logs anyway." I brought them early, and then I drove to the county records office where the clerk scanned my pages and looked up and said she used an after-hours override, and I said at 2:07, and the clerk said, "You want the commissioner." That night, soft tapping on the glass, not the door, I turned off the light and waited 3 more taps. Like someone asking permission from the wrong place. I opened the door an inch, and Dana stood there, soaked through, holding a manila envelope, like a life preserver. "I shouldn't be here," she whispered. "She's losing it. She called an executive meeting with no notice to suspend your residency. She says, 'You're dangerous.' She's rewriting logs, deleting entries, telling us to align the narrative. And inside the envelope were printed screenshots, email headers, audit trails from their cheap cloud vendor, administrator actions with red timestamps. And I asked why she was helping me, and she looked past me at Ellie's nightlight and said, "Because she said no one would believe a child. And because I'm tired of being the hands that erase other people's lives." And that was the twist. Not just a bully with bylaws, but a person who used the access system like a key to our lives, and then tried to scrub her steps. The emergency HOA meeting the next evening was packed. Phones buzzing, nerves humming, and Marla opened with theater. All recording devices are prohibited during internal proceedings, and I kept it casual tough. Ask the county requested audio for any meeting with my name attached. The notice is on the portal, and heads went down. Screens lit up. You could hear the room bend, and when I laid out 3 pages like cards and tapped each one, Exhibit A, the gate override. 207 Exhibit B. The still from Ellie's room at 213 exhibits Marla's email at 3:31 that said, "Issue resolved, resident will think twice." Marla reached and Dana blocked her hand and said, steady, "Those are the emails I gave him. You told me to delete them." And the room didn't gasp. It went quiet in that deep way where people decide what side of themselves they're going to live with. The next morning of the courthouse, limestone clean floors, a judge who does not have patience for performances. I told the story the same way I'm telling you. Simple, steady, with chain of custody and matching times and boring labels that hold up when someone tries to shake them. And the county council asked for suspension of the HOA's authority. Receivership seizure of assets tied to the illegal access system referral for prosecution. A protective order for Ellie and Marla's lawyer. Did the frantic objections. Outrageous. Disgruntled homeowner overreach. And Judge Tegan Shaw didn't look at him. She looked at the evidence and said, "Motion granted." And the gavel didn't boom. It clicked and the room exhaled. Like a house finally sitting back on its foundation. That's the win, clean and heavy, but I know what some of you are already thinking. Did I push it too far? Should I have just paid the fine and dyed my kid's hair back? To beige did I turn a neighborhood dispute into a courtroom war? And maybe you've lived somewhere a clipboard and a pastel blazer could tell you what your grief is allowed to look like. Maybe you kept your head down. Maybe you still are. And I get it. I wanted quiet more than anything. I wanted to overcook spaghetti the way Hannah teased me about, and teach Ellie to fix a flat and mow a straight line. But there's a kind of politeness that bullies love, the kind that sounds like surrender, and I'm not raising my kid on that. So tell me, was I right? Was I wrong? Did I go too far or not far enough? Where's the line between order that protects and rules that get weaponized? Have you seen a system like this up close? Drop your take in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. Share your story if you've got one, and if you want more true stories told straight. Hit subscribe, tap the bell, and send this to the one person who needs to hear. That compliance was never meant to cut a child's hair while she slept.